Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome back to the Around the Nati podcast. I believe this is episode 21.
21
of the 21.
Come in, 21
of this great podcast that's super consistent now. It's great times. We're always on time. We definitely didn't miss last week.
Hey, listen, you guys wouldn't have noticed if we didn't tell you.
But we're back again.
And better than ever.
Sports. We got a good topic on the slate today. We have planned to dive into the aura around what is the Cincinnati Bengals. There's a lot of negativity that's spread around the Bengals. They get a really bad rep. We're going to talk about if that is fair or if that is unfair, especially now in a time where the franchise is kind of rebooting and it seems to be heading in a different direction. So I'm excited to share some opinions on that and kind of talk about how the Bengals are perceived and kind of in the direction they're heading. What about you, Logan?
Yeah, I don't really know how to kick it off. Other than what I'll say is that, listen, there's no mistake about it that especially recently in the national media, the Bengals have been painted as this horrible franchise who's never had success, and especially with the drafting of Joe Burrow, the narrative has been, there's no chance he'll ever succeed there. Tua Tagovailoa will have a better career as a result of where he went, and no quarterback has ever had success in Bengals franchise history. And in the words of Mel Kiper Jr., that's just plain false. That's just plain false. And listen, you guys know what the narrative is. If you follow this podcast, if you are a Bengals fan, I don't need to reiterate that for you. Really, what our job today is, or what our goal is, to kind of explain why that is. And so, I guess, Gamble, I'll pose the question to you because, I can speak more about this myself. But
hit me, big sexy.
Do you think that narrative is a result of recency bias?
No, and well, partially, and I'll tell you why. I think when you're a team like the Bengals, and we haven't had success these past 3-4 years, and that's fine. Teams have down years unless you're the New England Patriots or the Pittsburgh Steelers or things like that. So I think that definitely helps. But I think the main reason everybody gives us that claim is it's been Mike Brown. And it's always been Mike Brown. And when he's doing well, they're not going to give him that. They're not going to bring up that narrative.
Right. Well, and don't forget, it wasn't long ago that he was nominated as the executive of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he won that award, and it was the year he played strong ball. He strong-armed Carson Palmer, who said, "I'm going to retire if you don't trade me." He said, "Fine, retire. Bye. We'll replace you. That's fine." And then what did he do? He went around and traded them and got
2 firsts.
Was it 2 firsts or was it a first and a second?
Or an extra first and a second, yeah. I think we got Dre and Giovanni.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out to be a heck of a turnaround. I definitely feel like we got good value out of that, and yeah. But my thing is, I would argue with you. I would argue that it is somewhat of a recency bias because just looking at so let's just take the last 10 years. Okay, so we'll say from 2019 to 2009. Okay, and or I should say, they made the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and in the other seasons they were 6-10, 7-9, 6-9, 1-4-12 year. And other than that, they won at least 9 games or more. Like I don't. It's not like they're horribly uncompetitive. And I believe that the year they went 4 and 12. Maybe I'm wrong. No. Palmer did play all year that year, I think, actually. But that was the year they brought Terrell Owens in, and they honestly...
That was Carson's last year.
I think that they knew going into it that they were going to be bad, and that's why they went out and just made it kind of a split, like just to keep people interested. And, but for the most part, the Bengals have at least been competitive, and that's all I can really ask for. I remember when I was a kid, like really young, I always told myself, I just want to have a hope to make the playoffs. If I can at least be hopeful every year and be, have something to look forward to till the end of the season, like that's all I need. Do I want a Super Bowl? Hell yeah. But would I trade? I think I would rather have 15, 20 years of being competitive, making the playoffs versus having 1 year of winning the Super Bowl and not winning for another 10 years, which, regrettably.
I don't know, man. Ooh, I would trade my left nut for a Super Bowl, dude. I would trade a leg. I'd give a leg away. I'd hop around the whole city for a Super Bowl, dude. I'd hop around the whole city for a Super Bowl.
But okay. If I told you want a Super Bowl, but you wouldn't win more than 5 games for 20 years, you would be on board with that?
Maybe.
Well, and here's the other thing I'll say though too is it's going to be really important for the Bengals to start doing well now because they're coming up on the end of the contract with the city for Paul Brown Stadium.
Yeah.
And they're going to want a new stadium or at least major renovations to the stadium as currently is. But honestly, it's probably going to be cheaper just to build a whole new stadium. And, if you can't bring money into, it's not like the Castellinis who have invested a ton of money into the banks and, have other stock there. The Brown and the Blackburn family are going to have to figure this out and kind of go from there. But let me ask you this. So you argued that it's not recency bias. So do you think that there's accuracy to the point of that the Bengals are one of the worst franchises in the NFL? Do you think that there's truth to that?
No. If I had to be honest with myself, I'd say the Bengals are probably middle of the pack. I think there's a bunch of other franchises that are much worse. The Browns, for instance, are a garbage organization.
Right. That's exactly what I think at first. Right down the river, man.
They're a garbage organization. Look at last year. They had so much talent. They just, third place? Yeah. I mean, let's talk about the bad organizations. Let's talk about them. The Browns, the Lions. Who else?
Are you Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay. I mean, they had the Gruden years, but that's
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville hasn't.
Houston, largely.
Houston, until recently, hasn't been anything.
And even now they still underperform.
Yeah, I know
their talent supersedes their organizational instability, I should say.
Let's be honest. When's the last time Tampa Bay was in the playoffs? When they won the Super Bowl?
Right. And that's my thing is, I think Josh Freeman in maybe 2010, but outside of that, my thing is that the Bengals have had stability within the organization. Now, they may not have always, believe me, that they may not have always worked out for them, but they've always had a shared message. They've always had a plan, and their thing was always, we're going to be conservative, we're going to draft well, and that's how we're going to win. So we're going to draft well and develop our players. And for a long time, they did that really well. And you saw that yielded results between 2011 and 2015. Regrettably, they started missing in the draft and failing to develop players like the way that they thought that they could. And that's where you kind of saw the breakdown. My thing is, though, is that I think that, okay, let's move away from the last 10 years. Okay. Organizationally, we've been to 2 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
There have been very good teams, and there have been even better players who have played for these teams. But you know what? I think it's easy to forget how great of an organization one might have or how great of a history an organization has when they don't honor their own history inside the organization. There's no Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. There's no Bengals Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Whereas right across the road, you have probably the best baseball Hall of Fame besides Cooperstown.
Yeah.
And you can't even get a Ring of Honor? I mean, let's just talk about some of these guys. And you know what? I feel bad because it hurts some of these guys who really should be in the Hall of Fame already, or at least be acknowledged as potential Hall of Famers. And those guys to me are like Willie Anderson, Chad Johnson.
Well, he's on. Well, definitely Bengals Hall of Fame, but he's a fringe Hall of Famer.
Fringe is fair. Fringe is fair, but let me keep going. Kenny Anderson,
100% should have been in 10 years ago.
Ken Riley, who
same deal.
Who regrettably, if he's ever inducted now, is going to be inducted posthumously.
He's like 5th all time
in interceptions still today, in an era where passing wasn't the predominant method of offense.
Yeah. Same with Ken Anderson. Passing wasn't huge. He led the league in passing like 4 years.
But how easy is it for others to forget your history when you fail to honor your own history? Yeah. And that's kind of my argument there. Is I think that I would argue that yes, it is recency bias, and I think yes, the Bengals have some culpability in that.
Yeah.
Because again, they do fail to honor their own. And I think, I posed the question in pre-show, how do we go about changing that narrative? Well, I think that's the very first thing you do, is I think that you go about changing the narrative by acknowledging and recognizing the greats of your past in the organization. And in doing so, you're going to bring attention to people. I mean, listen, the Reds are widely considered a great organization in baseball. People love the Reds. People respect the Reds. And it's certainly not because they've had success in the last 25 years, because they really haven't. Not since the 1990 team have they had really great success.
Yeah.
But you know what? Everyone still recognizes as a baseball town. You've got the Big Red Machine. You do have, some premier players who are honored. You've got the Nasty Boys. You've got Barry Larkin. And even while he's remembered more as a Seattle Mariner, but like even King Griffey Jr., for example, like we still honor King Griffey Jr. And
he's a Cincy kid. That's why.
Well, but I'm just saying, they highlight their history. They acknowledge that they have something to celebrate. Whereas the Bengals, the Browns, and I don't know why. And I tell you what, players have come out and said as much, that they are offended. And Willie Anderson's been very vocal about this and damn near pleading the organization to please recognize them, because you know what? If you're an organization can't recognize you, how are we going to put you in the National Football Hall of Fame, the Professional Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah. I mean, do you see that happening? I mean, with all these changes, I mean, we've seen some things that we never thought we'd see out of Mike Brown. We saw him open his checkbook. We saw him make a big splash in free agency. We're kind of shifting that vibe. Do you think you see it happening? I mean, we saw 50 years of Bengals football, that kind of celebration that they did there. I mean, that may be a tilt in the right direction. What do you think?
It's been 50 years, and it took them 50 years to celebrate any kind of history. And the only reason they did that, in my belief, is because they knew that they're going to be bad and couldn't sell tickets. So maybe they are getting the hint, like, hey, we can sell some tickets if we start doing this. I really think that's going to be the only motivating factor. Hopefully, as they continue to go on, they get more pushback from previous players, and that pushback combined with a response from fans can result in a change. Because if not, it's going to be the continued narrative. Okay.
Did you wait before you continue? Did you see what they did for Chad?
Maybe not, because I'm not sure what you're referencing.
So recently he's been, going out and doing a lot of media stuff for the Bengals.
Right.
They actually sent him a box of cigars and said, thank you for being, being part of the team, and thank you for, showing support for the Bengals and blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot more to come. And they sent him a whole box of cigars that were wrapped with each of the schedule.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So, they seem different. I
definitely think organizationally there has been, at least on the surface, a change, because to your point, you've never seen them spin in free agency the way that they have this year. You've never seen them take chances and risk like that. even just making a coaching change, that's a big deal for the organization. You hadn't done that in 16 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I would be, you know, what's really gonna be the tall tale, or the most revealing thing for me is if let's say, and I hope hopefully this doesn't happen, it doesn't come to this, but if let's say in 2 years they are struggling, they're not doing well, and they fire Zach Taylor, I think that I think that's, while I appreciate consistency, and I think that coaches should, in the NFL in general, don't get a long enough leash. If they put a short leash on them, that's going to show organizational change. That's going to show a urgency to win, and it's going to send a message: we're not going to accept mediocrity.
I mean, shit. Arizona fired their coach after a year.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, and you know, what I will tell you is that even I think that you even saw some of that early on, and maybe that was Marvin who was pushing for that. I couldn't tell, but I mean, you saw the Bengals move on from Bill Lazor. You saw the Ken Zampese. You saw them move on, or you saw Marvin take over the defensive coordinating, play calling.
Oh God, Austin. What is his name? Terrell Austin.
Terrell Austin, yeah, pretty bad.
What a hot pile of shit that.
In fairness, he had next to no talent on in the linebacker core.
Whatever.
But however, but I mean, I told you.
Colts game, we got that Colts game out of it.
I mean, I told you Terrell Austin was gonna be bad before he ever called a single play, and then because I pointed him out to you. I mean, every defense he's ever been a part of has been like bottom third of the league. And honestly, like I think the best defense he ever called was like in 2013 for the Lions. They were like the 25th best ranked defense, and that was the best defense he'd ever called. 25th best.
You make mistakes, you move on.
But I'm just, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at with that. And you know what, we did mention briefly Ken Riley. You know, we would definitely want to give a shout out to Ken Riley, and you know, prayers out to him and his family, and you know, hopefully, you know, rest in peace, Ken, and
he'll get in the hall.
Hopefully that's
in the hall way later than he needs to be, but he'll
right. Hopefully he gets in, you know, and all-time great for the Bengals for sure, and just in general, just a guy who really was one of the first, you know, ball hawks, in the NFL, and in today's game, he would have been someone who would be considered a top player in the league, you know, and certainly would have been heavily sought after in today's NFL, where passing is such a more dominant. And honestly, I would argue he'd probably have more interceptions at this point, because you have a far greater opportunity to be able to play the ball. And the way that they play defense today allows players to be a little more aggressive and playing the ball instead of playing the player. And the rules kind of dictate that you have to anyways, because you can't really play the player anymore. Or you get called for defensive holding, pass interference, whatever it might be. But yeah, no, I think those are all really reasonable expectations, or things to think that he could have achieved. But definitely impressive what he did achieve during his time here.
Yeah. It bums me out so hard that we only have one guy in the hall. I mean, and for him to get in the hall, he had to be probably the greatest offensive lineman to ever play the game.
Right. And also, by the way, great guy. Great human being. Couldn't be happier for Anthony Munoz. Fantastic human being.
He's got a whack pinky, though.
Oh, dude, that's nasty. I had a high school teacher. That was like that. And he'd sit when he'd teach, and he'd like pick his teeth with this finger here, and then his pinky was fucked up, and it would just kind of like fucking hang off to the side real weird. And then he'd be like, and he was just a football coach. Like, he did not want to teach. Yeah. He would literally take Wikipedia
Was it history?
slides. Yeah. He would take Wikipedia slides, copy and paste them onto a Blackboard slide, and be like, write this down. With his fucking pinky all messed up. And you know what's the funnier thing is he coached special teams.
Oh.
Like, usually I feel like the assistant coach.
Football games.
Hey, listen, I don't disagree, but I feel like speaking of which, Darren Simmons would make an excellent head coach.
Don't say that. I'd like him on our team, please.
I think he'd make a great head coach. If Zach Taylor doesn't work out, give me Darren Simmons.
I mean,
Talk about a guy who
consistent.
Talk about what my thing is. I don't know that I like. Sorry, we're getting off track here. I don't know that I like the.
It's our podcast. We can say what we want, dude.
You're goddamn right. It is. You're right. I don't think I like the head coach being able to call plays. I don't think I like him doing. I think I would rather the head coach be the head coach and allow the coordinators to be the coordinators.
I don't know, man. I think if you had Andy Reid at your head coach,
that's different. That's
No,
different. I think Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach. Zach Taylor has never called an offense before last year.
Okay. Do you think the first time Andy Reid did it, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be a Hall of Fame"?
Yeah, but he was a coordinator before he was a coach, a head coach rather.
Fair enough. I mean, you got to take a chance on someone sometime, and you know what? If
Eric Bieniemy, where you at, boy?
you're already off the Zach bus?
No, I just don't know that. I just don't know if I didn't love the hire to begin with. I was excited because it is exciting. But my thing is like if you're not going to be good, at least be interesting. And the Bengals will definitely be interesting this year if there is a football season. Did you see Fauci came out? Fauci came out. He was on the Dan Patrick show today. I was listening to on the way into work.
Oh God, Dan Patrick.
I love Dan Patrick personally. I don't know. One second. But I would say you're fine. I would say Dan Patrick, or on the Dan Patrick show, he came on and said that the only way the NFL is going to be able to play this season safely and correctly is if they do what the NBA and the NHL are doing and go in a bubble.
Going up like.
So isolation. Are you familiar with? Are you familiar with kind of what the NBA is doing?
No.
So the NBA is literally they're putting them on like a resort in Disney, and they're not allowed to leave the resort for the entire time for the rest of the season and into the playoffs. And they won't be allowed to have guests in unless they make it to the playoffs, and then they can have like guests who have to go through like rigorous like COVID testing and stuff. And it was so funny because on the Colin Cowherd show, Joy Taylor is like, so this is my first thought. You have a bunch of grown men full of testosterone and no women. What are they going to do? And
you're going to break a blanket in there, dude.
And I said they're going to need lots of socks.
Yeah. Going to break a blanket in there.
But they did say that they will not be drug testing for marijuana during this time.
So they're just going to get bricked.
They're going to get blazed, boy.
Hey man, dude, you're not gonna get NFL players to do that.
Oh no way! Because we're talking about if that's the case, you have to at least August, September, November, October. I skipped October. Whoops, December.
I know my mom.
January, February. You're having at least 7 months where these guys would be in isolation. There's no way you can do that. There's not, and the NFL. It's not like. The NFL makes a lot of money from their ticket revenue.
Like, why don't you just sign a contract saying you're not going to get pissed off if they get COVID? I hate it. I hate it, dude. I'm so over it. I just want to go to a damn restaurant and eat some tacos or something. Dude, that's all I want to do.
Yeah, did you see in Southwest Ohio the infection rate's gone up by like 700% in the last 24 hours?
I'm going to sound callous. Don't care.
I just think it's crazy, man. It's bad. But it's like Southwest Ohio is what's doing the worst, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because we're just fucking gross or what.
I don't know. I thought DeWine was doing a good job.
DeWine's kind of like, he came out today, he said he's sending National Guard in to Southwest Ohio.
What's that going to do? Just add to the population to get sick?
Well, he's sending them in for additional testing resources and stuff.
Those National Guard guys aren't trained to do that.
Right. They're not trained to do much of anything, to be honest with you.
He works at Amazon on the weekends. Where the hell was he going to do?
I know a guy I went to high school with. I won't say his name, but I know a guy I went to high school with. He's in the National Guard. And I'm like, bro, I can't believe anyone would ever put their... Like, if it comes down to someone attacking our country and you're the one that's to defend me, like, I'm fucked. I'm just going to throw out the white flag and be like, I submit to your will. Like,
I don't want to be disrespectful, but they're not medical professionals. Like,
Some of them are.
Some.
Some of them are.
They're not sending just the medical professionals down there.
Oh, I totally understand. Believe me, I get it. I honestly, as awful as it sounds, I'd be more equipped to handle some of that situation than most of the people that they're sending.
Right.
And I'm not terribly qualified.
You're just packing more people into an area.
Right.
I'm not good with the whole science thing, but if you pack more people into an area, there's more people to get sick, so.
Right. All right, Gamble, you ready for this week's trivia?
Oh, shit, there's trivia?
We did trivia last week.
We did talk about that 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
Yep.
I didn't come up with any questions for you.
That's okay. I got this.
So,
since 1990.
Oh, God. Okay.
How many times have the Cincinnati Bengals won their division?
4 times.
Close.
5 times.
5 times since 1990. They've won the division.
I was close, dude.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. All right. Let's see here. What was my next one I had?
I'm ready, Alex.
Okay.
What is Bengals trivia for 1,000?
In 2007, who was the Bengals' leading rusher?
In 2007. Channeling that into my brain. I'm trying to think of who they even had at that time.
If you get this without looking it up, I will buy you a case of beer.
Okay. What if I asked you what their quarterback was?
Okay.
Well, who was their quarterback?
The leading passer that year was Carson Palmer.
Fuck, that didn't help me at all. In 2007.
In 2007.
I'm thinking real hard. Is it out of left field, dude?
Yes.
Shit.
Okay, I'll give you another hint. This is the only year in Bengals franchise history this player led the franchise in rushing.
The only year. Led the franchise in rushing.
For the season, yep. So this is the only year this player led the Bengals in rushing.
Perry. Was it Tab Perry?
No, it was Kenny Watson. He led the league. Or he led the team with rushing with 763 yards. I believe that was the year that Rudy Johnson tore his ACL.
That's tough, dude. There's no way I'm getting that.
Oh, I agree. I just thought it was fun.
I was thinking, for some reason, like Bernard Scott popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, what was the running back that was the bust? Irons, his last name was?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you.
Shit.
I remember once I looked it up, I remember Kenny Watson, but I would not have remembered him otherwise. But I remember because that year he was a tank, bro. Because he only played in like 10 games, I think, and he still had 763. He's a tank. Let's see here. I had one more. What was it that I wrote down? Oh, that's what it was. Sorry, trying not to burp on mic here. Are you ready? Sorry.
Hit me.
In Marvin Lewis's first year as head coach, which was in 2003, according to Pro Football Focus, who was the Bengals' best player?
Marvin Lewis's first year.
Which was 2003.
I'm going to be honest, I can't name many 2003 players.
Oh, you can name a couple. I bet you. I bet you could at least name 3 right off the top of your head.
You're going to expose me.
It was not, I'll give you, it was not a position player. That should be pretty obvious then.
Shane Graham.
No. That's actually quite the out-of-the-box guess, and I really appreciate that. But it was Willie Anderson.
Oh.
He was ranked.
A position player, isn't he?
No, he was a left tackle.
I know he's a tackle. Is that not what a position? I don't know what a position player means.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say skill player. Position player is baseball. I'm in baseball mode. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant to say skill player. I apologize.
I'm like, I don't think I know what a position player means.
Can you name the leading passer, rusher, and receiver? I can tell you 2 of those have the same last name.
Rudy Johnson.
Was the leading rusher.
Chad Johnson.
Yep. Who was the quarterback?
Was it? Oh, God. I'm going to sound stupid. Is it Kidna?
It was John Kitna.
There you go.
Did you know they went from 2-14 the year before to Marvin's first year they went 8-8?
Really?
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, we went like 2-14 the year before in 2010, right?
We were 4-12 in 2010 and went 9-7 and finished 3rd in the AFC North.
There you go. And still was in playoffs.
Yeah, still made the playoffs. Interestingly enough, it only took Marvin. Actually, let me ask you this: how many years did it take Marvin Lewis to win the division? How many seasons? What season was it that he finally won the division?
It's 2005, wasn't
it? Which would be his what year in the league?
I mean, he's been in the league a long time as a head coach.
Yes, of the Bengals.
2 years.
It was his 3rd season. Yep, the 3rd season. They went 11-5.
In 2005, they won.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that would be his 3rd season as the Bengals head coach.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys, and that's this week's trivia.
I'm gonna add a cool screen, I think, with the questions.
Okay, I'm down.
It's gonna be great. I'm an editing genius.
It's gonna be pretty neat.
But I think those are good. Concise. I'll use the word concise. I'll say it one more time. Concise episode. We're gonna keep it kind of short and sweet.
I think he's looking for concise, but
I thought it was concise.
I don't know that concise is a word. If it is, I'm
whatever, dude. I think I said it 3 times wrong.
Unless you're talking about succinct, which that's also a possibility.
Yeah.
I think you mix concise and succinct.
Whatever.
Hey, listen, it's our podcast. We can make up words if we want.
Say whatever I want, but we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it short and sweet. I
love it.
It's kind of late. I'm kind of tired.
I feel you.
Love it. But go ahead and rip out them socials, Big Daddy.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow Gamble at Girly Hummin. You can follow
GIRLIEHUMMIN.
You can follow your boy at Chow_Logan. And then you can follow the show on Twitter at around_the_Nati. Same as our Instagram. That's around_the_Nati. Please do that. Please interact with us. We'd love to hear your feedback and kind of go and just hear from you guys. And we'd like to talk to you. So
yeah, share it out.
Sometimes it gets lonely by ourselves over here. But anyways, this has been the Around the Nati podcast.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Logan. And we'll catch you around the Natty.
Shut up and sit down.